Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, as we learn from St. Augustine, Doctor of the Church, while we read his book, Confessions. Welcome, Catholic pilgrims. Thank you for joining me again today. I hope that you all know how much I love reading these works for you and for myself. It's truly a delight for me, and I'm just very grateful that you listen in every day. Integrity is the word of the day, so keep that in mind as we read from Book 6, Chapter 10, on page 125. I found him in Rome when I arrived. He became very closely attached to me and came with me to Milan so that we need not part, and also because he wanted to put his legal studies into practice, though this was more his parents' wish than his own. He had already acted 3 times as assessor, with an integrity that was a source of wonder to his colleagues, though to him it was astonishing that anyone should prefer wealth before honesty. But it was not only by inducements of bribery that his character was put to the test. He was also subjected to intimidation. When he was in Rome acting as assessor to the controller of Italian provincial funds, there was a very influential senator who held large numbers of people in his power, either because he had granted them favors or because they had reason to fear him. In his usual domineering way, he attempted to obtain some privilege to which he had no right in law. Alypius refused to grant it. A bribe was offered, and he contemptuously turned it down. Threats followed, and he rebuffed them. Everyone was amazed by his extraordinary self-possession, for although this formidable man had earned widespread notoriety for his innumerable methods of patronizing or injuring others, Alypius neither desired him as a friend nor feared him as an enemy. Even the judge for whom Alypius was acting as assessor agreed that the privilege should not be granted, though he would not openly refuse it. Declaring that he could do nothing in face of Alypius's attitude, he left the case in his hands, and, in fact, if he had acted himself, Alypius would have left the court. There was only one temptation to which he nearly yielded through his love of literature, and this was to have books copied for him at the special rates available to government officers. But he conscientiously chose the better course and decided the honest principles which forbade the deal were more precious than the opportunity which made it possible. This is a small matter, but he who is trustworthy over a little sum is trustworthy over a greater. The words of Christ, the voice of your truth, can never be unmeaning, and it was he who said, "If you then could not be trusted to use the base riches you had, who will put the true riches in your keeping? Who will give you property of your own if you could not be trusted with what was only lent you?" These were the qualities I knew in Alypius, who was my close friend, and like myself was perplexed to know what course of life we ought to follow. Nebridius was also with us. He had left his own town near Carthage, and Carthage itself, where he had spent much of his time. He had given up his house and his family's rich estate in the country, and had left his mother, who refused to come with him. He had come to Milan for no other purpose than to live with me, so that we might be together in our fervent search for truth and wisdom. His distress was not less than mine, and like me, he wavered between one course and another, desperately seeking the way of happiness and prying closely into the problems which troubled us most. We were like 3 hungry mouse, able only to gasp out our needs to one another while our eyes were on you, waiting for you to grant us, in due time, our nourishment. And in all the bitter disappointments which, by your mercy, thwarted our undertakings in this world, we tried to see the reason for our sufferings. But darkness overshadowed us, and we turned away asking, "How long is this to be?" Again and again we asked ourselves this question, but we did not relinquish our worldly aims, because we could not see the light of any truth that we might grasp in place of them. When we were living in Montgomery, Alabama. My husband was going to school at the Air War College at Maxwell Air Force Base. And he was involved in a project-based degree. And so he had a team that was building a prototype of a specific type of drone. Anyway, the course taught the officers how to work with private businesses to build prototypes and gain capital and all that. My husband absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was very innovative, and as an engineer, he was all in. And one weekend, a company that his team was working with came to town, and we all went out to dinner. Each teammate brought his family, and we had a nice meal and good conversation. And at the end of the meal, one of the guys from the business wanted to pay for the entire meal. And in a split second, I saw my husband and his teammates, the other Air Force officers, look at each other very seriously. And I realized that they were communicating nonverbally, that one of them was going to have to say something. As military officers, they can't accept gifts like that. So my husband took the lead and said, "Hey guys, thank you for the offer, but we can't allow you to pay for us." And the one guy tried to brush him off like, "Oh no, it's no big deal, we can afford it." And Dustin said, "No, it's just that we can't accept gifts from businesses. It's an ethical thing." And the business guy responded with, "Oh, okay, I get it. No problem." Now these guys were from the company were very young. They're just smart, nerdy entrepreneurs. And they just didn't know. And they weren't trying to bribe or anything. But I was so impressed with my husband and the other officers for declining. That showed such integrity, and I was very proud. There's a line from a song called Money and Fame by Need to Breathe that goes, quote, "But everybody's got a price, I guess. It's even lower than you think it is," unquote. And this is in reference to basically selling your soul for some material gain or fame or notoriety. If you don't practice integrity with the little things, it will be hard to do it with the big things, especially when big prizes are dangled in front of your face. We have to make sure that we don't have a price that would cause us to be untrustworthy and deceitful people. I tell my husband all the time that I think he would make a great president, because I do. And he always says, "I would hate how people would constantly be trying to bribe me or do things where they could potentially blackmail me. I would have to be so hyper vigilant, and a lot of people would hate me for it." Alipius is explained here today as being a good lawyer or good assessor. And you read this and are impressed with his integrity. He may not have been able to steer clear of bad entertainment like we heard a couple readings ago, but it sounds like he tries very hard to practice law in an honest and respectable way. And I'm a little proud of our guy Alipius. Disciplining ourselves in little things helps us to deal with the bigger, higher stakes situations. We all want to be people of integrity, but it is a virtue that must be practiced at the lower levels in order to be fortified to practice it no matter what situation comes up. We will pause here for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you soon, and until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.